it's not that I am always on this peak. I mean, I have peaks and valleys all day, all week, all month, all year. But the thing is trying to reduce the amount of how high and lows those are and stay on that rolling little wave of happiness.
Hey, what's up, people? It's Brandon Ferris, and you're listening to A Quick Read, an advertising podcast that talks book smarts and street smarts with the people who have been there, done that. Today's guest is hairstylist, educator, and creative Jesse Gray. We cut to the chase about Spencer Johnson's peaks and valleys and help you keep it positive. You know what to do. Tune in and turn up. What's up, my man? Jesse, how's it going, buddy?
What's up, Brandon?
So good to have you on the show. As people who know me might have heard your voice before, we had a podcast in the past together called Pop's Couture. Just two creative dads sharing our dad knowledge.
This is like deja vu. I'm feeling good about this.
Well, what's different though is that this time we're hiding behind masks. It's
very much different.
It's kind of weird.
It's a struggle.
And just so everybody knows, at this point, the podcast is pretty much done remote. So all my guests have been remote. I have a podcast kit that I send out, but Jesse's sort of in my bubble. So he's in my bubble. He's family. So I felt comfortable with this, but we're still in the room. We still got our masks on. So we want everybody to be safe out there and to follow suit.
Yes.
So, but I'm so excited to have you on the show. And really excited that you picked a really cool book called Peaks and Valleys by Spencer Johnson. Why'd you select that book?
Well, at the time that I read it, I was around 26, 27, completely lost. You could say it was in my valley. My son was about 3 or 4 years old, and I had no clue what I wanted to do. I didn't know who I was. And I was just kind of like roaming around in this valley. And all I know is that I needed to make money.
Yeah.
And so as far as like work goes, I was just trying to make money. I was DJing. I was doing some creative stuff, but not anywhere near where I'm at.
And so,
now.
so somebody must have shared this book or this story with you, and you were like, oh, wow. And it sort of like created a moment. Is that why it means so much to you, or why you thought it was an interesting book to talk about today?
Yeah, so I was working with a kind of like this like direct marketing company, and it was a book that somebody suggested. They called it a self-help book.
Okay,
which I had no clue what that meant at the time because I'm not a big reader, and that was the reason why I heard about this book.
Yeah,
and then once I read it, I mean it really resonated with me. One, because it's very simple.
Yeah.
It's very simple to understand. I am not a big reader. I get lost just reading from one line to the other. And I got to read pages over and over. So I need a really simple book to understand. And this spoke to me right at the very beginning of the book, especially the title. I mean, the title is Making Good and Bad Times Work for You.
Yeah. And so really the concept in the book, we'll talk a little bit about today, is this idea that peaks are the moments when you appreciate what you have, and valleys are the moments when you long for what is missing.
Yes.
So we're going to jump into that, but before we do, I want people to understand why I wanted to have you on an advertising show. So what we'll come to find out is that, as you got out of your first valley, you really found a space as a stylist in hairstyling, and you've gone on and you've helped me out. You've been on set multiple times as a stylist for commercials. You've been talent in commercials. You've done styling for big hair shows. You've worked with brands. You've done celebrity styling.
Correct.
So you're very much in this world.
Yeah.
You're very much overlapped into the advertising and marketing world. So I guess that sets up really this first point is, how did you get from this valley that you just talked about where you didn't know what you wanted to do to becoming like a really sought after stylist? Trust me, I know, I can't even you're my blood relative. and I can't even get a haircut. I have to go to Sport Clips. Most of the times I got to go to Great Clips, Sport Clips, whatever adjective you put in front of the word clip to get a quick haircut, because to get a haircut with you, I have to plan like 3 years ahead of time.
I mean, there is some truth to that. But it started when, I'm a positive person, and that's what a lot of this book is about, is staying positive. And I didn't know I was in a valley. I think that's what can be hard with people that don't know where they're going, or haven't found, like, I hate the word, like, their passion in life.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say it, found their passion in life, or what they love to do, what they want to suffer for.
Sure.
And so if they don't know they're in that valley, and they don't recognize it, then they may not be able to start making their way to the peak. But it started back when my wife was getting her haircut by this guy named Josh Wagner, who now has become my best friend and mentor, and just my, the guy that, besides you, I go to and ask a lot of questions.
When your name is Wags, I mean, you know what I mean?
That's right. Wags 227.
Yeah,
and that's a funny story on how that came out. But anyway, so I had been cutting my own hair since I was in 8th grade. And at this point, I'm 20-something years old. Sure. And nobody else has ever cut my hair. And Kaylin, my wife, is like, "Oh, you need to go get your hair cut by him." I'm like, "No, he is not going to know how to cut my hair." Yeah. Now, come to find out, he's like this, like literally a world traveling educator and hairstylist. Sure. But to me, nobody was going to be able to cut my hair like I wanted to. And so eventually I did.
And when you say you cut your hair, you're talking clippers in a mirror.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
I mean, just getting it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that time I DJ'd.
Yeah.
And so, and no lie, I mean, people would ask, "Where do you get your haircut?" Yeah. I don't know why.
And but not only that, but you were also, like, growing up in high school and stuff, you would cut your friends' hair and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like so you kind of had this early gift that maybe you just didn't, maybe it was right in front of you all along.
It was.
Okay, so you go and you meet Josh.
Yep, I meet Josh. So
and
fast forward.
Did you go to get your hair cut, or just go to, like, you happened to go with Kaylin when she got her haircut?
No, I went to go get my hair cut, but the honest truth is that I wanted to go just to find out that he wasn't as cool as what Kaylin said he was. Because Kaylin just said how awesome he was, blah, 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 blah. And I remember driving just hoping, like, God, I hope he is, like, the biggest douchebag. And I don't know. He's, like, ugly and whatever. So I get there, and I'm like, of course. Like, he's a good-looking dude. He's got it together. And then just from the beginning, like, when you meet somebody that that, like, somehow you're supposed to be connected.
Of course.
There's... and I connect with a lot of people very easily. Yeah. But, like, Josh and I, it was just like, I was like, we should be friends.
So let's pause here for a moment, because in this book, what's really unique about Peaks and Valleys, it's like a lot of some of similar books like this, Who Moved My Cheese and some of those other ones. It's really a storytelling book. So it's a narrative story that teaches you these concepts. And in the very opening of the book, this guy sort of goes on this journey up a mountain, but he sort of is told this story about peaks and valleys from this woman in the book. And so early on, the book talks about this journey, and he climbs up to this mountain and he meets this old man, right? And so kind of what you just spoke there about, when you find your people, you kind of know you're supposed to talk to them. And then in the story, this guy sort of has this conversation with this old man, and then here we learn about the story of Peaks and Valleys. Yeah. So it sounds like, you guys hit it off, and he became sort of an early mentor.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I mean, he came my guru at the peak, because everybody that is at the peak has been in the valley.
Gotcha.
And the valley and the peaks are 100% connected. And I think sometimes people don't understand that there's no way that the person at the top is going to understand the person at the bottom.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go through never really knowing that they can make it to the peak because they continue to create,
Yeah.
their own value.
So you go to get your hair cut and you see this guy who's a good looking guy, got cool style. He's clearly the coolest dude in the salon.
Yeah.
Everyone likes this guy. Everyone's going to him for the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And here you are, and you're like, I want in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
talk about at what point did you feel or did you know that you wanted to pursue or go into hair school or barber school or whatnot, and then just kind of get us up to speed with that journey from the valley of I don't know what to do to discovering, wow, I'm actually pretty good at this.
Yeah. Before that, I will say, like, I won't say I'm a humble person, but when I met him, I was like, I'm just as cool as this dude. Like, like I can, like you see somebody,
Yeah.
and you can agree with me. You see something done by somebody, you're like, I can do that.
Yeah.
It's just, there's always this I can attitude or I am attitude. And so I was like, well, I can do that. And
Right.
so what really struck a nerve in me was actually education.
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually the first thing that he invited me to was a class in New York and in Boston.
Okay.
And so did not have my license. And we go to New York. This is at the studio where the company that I teach for now has classrooms. And I'm thinking I'm just going to go and watch and hang out.
Yeah.
And
You're like an assistant who's there to just sort of observe and take it in.
yes. And so we get there, and a few minutes before, we go on, or he goes on, he's like, hey, do you just want to do a haircut? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you want to do a haircut like on this little stage in front of 50 people. I'm like, I don't have a license. I got nothing. And he's like, just go. You don't have to say anything. Just talk, or just go up there and do your thing. And I was like, my thing? I don't have a thing. He has a thing. I don't have a thing. I've been doing garage cuts and basement cuts and outside pool haircuts since I was in 8th grade. That's all I got. I don't got a thing. He has a thing. And I'm a positive person.
He's basically like Obi-Wan Kenobi who gave you a lightsaber and said, go fight Darth Vader.
Yes, exactly. And I don't even know who Darth Vader is.
Right.
And I'm a positive person. And like I said before, if I see somebody do something like cutting hair, I'm like, I can do that. And so I was like, okay, I guess this is my opportunity. I don't know. So I do my thing, and the class is over, and seeing what he was able to do, helping other people, sharing his story, his experiences with these other people that are there, and then them sharing their stories with him,
Yeah.
and watching him learn from the student, which he's the educator.
Yeah, he's the master.
But watching him involve these people that come and are looking at him, and you can tell like they look at him because he is an amazing hairstylist educator. They're looking at him like this person on this pedestal and stage.
Yeah.
But what is so remarkable about him is that he brings himself down to the level of the student and shares his stories, his vulnerabilities, and then they in turn shall share their vulnerabilities and their stories
Yeah.
and their struggles and their valleys.
Yeah.
And then, so learning those stories of those people and then him sharing to help them kind of maybe go just up a little bit more to reach their peak. That's what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
Was learning those stories, connecting with people, and helping people get to the valley.
Yeah.
I mean,
love,
to the peak.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I love that narrative you just told there. I mean, I think about the agency world, right? Because it's very similar to styling, right? Like we work with, all sorts of creatives. As a creative director, I work with writers, I work with designers. And I'm not a writer or a designer. I'm a filmmaker. So I came into my position as creative director as a filmmaker. And so what I think is really cool about that is I do love that part of creativity and working with others is, you do learn so much from those that, that are teaching you while you're also bringing your strengths to them. And so I think that's really cool. I love that part of that narrative you just told. So, so from there, things really took off from there. I mean, you ended up, finishing school.
Yeah.
And then I remember you cutting my hair, when you were going through school, when you were cutting my hair in the garage before school. But I remember when you graduated, I think you literally went from like graduating to like working in a shop within like weeks, I feel like. And then from there, it just went like, it just happened so fast. You were starting to be booked 2 weeks out, a month out, 2 months out. Before we know it, I was like, dude, I can't get a haircut for 6 months. Like, what is happening? So like, how did that happen? Like, why do you think in that moment of this peak, like what was it that flipped in you? You were in a valley, you felt like you didn't know who you were, or what you wanted to do, to being one of the most sought after hairstylists. Like, please tell us, because there's people right there in their jobs in advertising and marketing who maybe they're a copywriter, maybe they're a designer, right? Maybe they're a strategist.
Yeah.
And they are feeling maybe stuck or whatnot. And they're wanting to get to that peak where they can just unleash and be the go-to person. Help us learn, like, how did you get there? Or did you even know you were getting there?
Well, I think we have to start with, I wasn't, I guess, technically a hairstylist. There's people out there that are already copywriters, already designers, already this, already that. So for that, you're already ahead of where I was. So I think what we have to do is celebrate those peaks. So you being a designer, a copywriter, or whoever you are right now, I think you have to celebrate that because you're already there. Now it's about taking it to another level or another peak. So I think it was like that, the openness or the willingness to learn everything I could possibly learn and not think that I know everything. Because again, I was already cutting hair since I was in 8th grade. Fast forward now, I don't know, 12 years later, I was already cutting hair for 12 years, but never formally educated.
Gotcha.
And so when I go into school, my drive was really education. My drive wasn't to be a hairstylist behind the chair, but to be an educator. You're technically supposed to have 5 years behind the chair before you become an educator. I went to school. I made that leap of going to school. Go through school. And then because of the connection with Josh and being open to learn from him. So in school, I would go upstairs because he worked at the salon above where I went to school. So I would go up there and just watch every day. Sweep hair. And it's almost like this like Karate Kid Miyagi thing.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything.
Yeah.
He didn't explain what he was doing. But I went upstairs and I just watched and observed and took it in. Watched, observed, watched.
Yeah.
And I was
wax on, wax off.
And
Sweep
I was
the floor.
Exactly. And I was sweeping the floor because I was sweeping up a hair. And I think the openness to learn was how I was accelerated to right after hair school being booked. Now also my personality is I talk to everybody.
Yeah.
So for the past 10 years before going to hair school,
You built a network.
I unknowingly built in
Yeah.
a clientele
Yeah.
of talking to, I just talk to everybody. My son always, I don't want to say gets upset, but he gets upset. He's like, why do you have to talk to everybody?
Same problem here.
You know? And it's just
That's
me.
when you start a podcast.
And you just start a podcast.
Yeah.
And so, so one, I think unknowingly, that just, personality is just who I am. I talk to everybody. So I built in that. Now, that's different if somebody's a copywriter or a graphic designer, because you don't, it's a little different, that one-on-one clientele.
Sure.
But the willingness
to learn,
I think, is what really accelerated me. And of course, the help of Josh, him connecting me with, the education people in that world.
Yeah.
And so I built those relationships during school.
Yeah.
Now I graduate, and again, you're supposed to have 5 years behind the chair. Nobody knew that I just graduated hair school.
Right.
Besides one person who was willing to take the chance on me auditioning to teach.
Right.
And so 4 other people came in. I auditioned for 5 people 2 weeks after I graduated hair school. Now, Josh helped me put together my little presentation all with my audition, but I still had to do it.
Yeah.
So I do that. 2 months later, I get a call in May. It was like right on my birthday, that I was accepted to the team.
Gotcha.
Now, I graduated several months ago. I'm supposed to have 5 years.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay, now I'm at the Valley. I'm up here and I got to celebrate this, but also or I'm at the peak. The Valley is that openness.
Yeah.
In knowing, okay, I have to learn from all of these people.
And I got to prove myself.
Yeah. So, I don't have this Gandhi moment.
Right.
But I think it's just being open to learning and always getting better, which I think everybody knows that. But I think putting that into action is how I got to where I was so quickly.
Yeah. No, I love what you said there about that, and sort of learning from the master, the Karate Kid reference. Of course, love that. But I think that that's not something that people intuitively do, because I think everybody out there listening right now sits across the room, or at least across the Zoom, from a master.
Yeah.
And I think that it takes guts and humility to recognize, hey, this person on my team is a master compared to me. And it takes a lot of heart and maturity and bravery to acknowledge that and to say, you know what, they are further along than me as a designer, further along than me as a strategist, as a business insight, as a data, analytics, as a writer. And I need to embrace that. And I need to let them know that I see them in that light, and then let them know that I want to learn from them, right? That takes guts, because we live in a culture where we got to prove ourselves, and it's all about I'm better than him or I'm better than her. And if they get the promotion, then I don't get the promotion, right? One of the concepts, 2 concepts I talk with my team about all the time is this idea of empathy and abundance. Empathy, really getting in other people's shoes and understanding their point of view, and abundance, this idea of, everybody can win, right? So, I can celebrate you as being a great master who gets a promotion, and I can do that knowing that I too have an opportunity for promotion. It's not either or. And, it's just about respecting people's experience. So I love that you pulled that out, and I love that you view your rise to success in your industry as a hairstylist as just being willing to go sweep the floor. And I think that's so powerful. So then here's my question to you. Again, this book, it keeps talking about these peaks and valleys, moments where you win, moments where you long for something more. I look at you and I see an extremely successful hairstylist who's super cool. You got the super cool look. You got the super cool vibe. Everybody loves Jesse. Everybody I know, when I hang out with you, when I go places, they're like, who is that guy? He's so cool. You know what I mean? So I look at you kind of like you looked at Josh, right? You're this super cool guy. You got it all figured out. you're in high demand, you're booked out for the next year, everybody wants you to do their hair transformation. What the hell's wrong? Like, what problems do you have? Like, how, like at this point, you're crushing it. So why do you, how do you feel like you're in a valley? And I guess, as I say that, what I'm really saying is to everyone listening, a lot of us are really at the top of our game. When we take a moment of gratitude and look at where we're at, the brands we're working with, the kind of work we're doing, the portfolios that we have, but yet we still feel unfulfilled. Mm-hmm. Could it be that, this comes to the next point of the book, the next section, that sometimes maybe we create our own valleys?
100%.
So talk to me about that, because I think the book hints at that a little bit. So here you are at the top of your stylist game in this sort of rookie season of yours. What the hell's wrong with you right now? Like, why? What valley? You know what I mean? Like, what valleys are you creating?
Yeah, there are valleys, but it's also, they talk about not comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah,
because in the book, the guy who was on this journey to the top, to the peak, meets the guy. And the first thing he says is, "Oh man, I missed it." Now, he was going up to this peak to see the sun set, but the first thing he thought of was that he missed the sunset.
Yeah, because he looked out and it was all dark.
Because it was all dark, and so he talks about. So the man at the top,
the old man,
the
master,
the
Miyagi,
guru, Miyagi,
R.I.P. Miyagi. He passed away. You know that, right?
Yes.
So Miyagi,
he says, "Well, but look at the stars."
Yeah,
and so he also then talks about not comparing your journey,
yeah,
to somebody else's journey. So I say that to say, you may look at my life, look at where I'm at, and it looks like I'm at the top because I'm not comparing myself to somebody else that has 500,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to get to their peak.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own peaks. Everybody has their own valleys.
Yeah.
And so my peak is providing for my family, having a house, being a good father, being a good husband. So my peaks are different than somebody else's peaks. And so I think it's super important that you're not comparing yourself or your peak to somebody else.
Yeah.
Just like you shouldn't compare your valley to somebody else's valley.
And I think that the thing I talk about, or a phrase I say a lot of times is, talking about comparing is, I always say you can't win the game of comparison.
No.
Right? Because, compared to, right, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
So compared to the troll from Billy Goat Gruff who lives under the bridge, I'm kind of handsome. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of killing it. My wife's checking me out.
Yeah.
Maybe some cougars are checking me out, but I'm like a pretty good looking guy compared to like the Billy Goat's Gruff troll under the bridge.
Yeah.
But if you ask my wife, compared to say maybe Ryan Gosling, maybe I went from like a 7 or an 8 down to like a 2 or a 3. You know what I mean? So like the game of comparison is a little sticky. Some people look at their careers and they're like, oh, I just want more. I just want more. I just want more. And they might be, pulling in like a solid 70 grand as a copywriter.
Yeah.
And compared to somebody just starting or somebody in a small market, they're only making maybe 35, 40, 50 grand.
Yeah.
They're killing the game. Yeah. But if you go to New York and LA and look at the top copywriters, in advertising, they're making 6 figures. So it's like you can never win, because even when you become the 6-figure copywriter, you look up and you're like, oh, but Bezos makes $6 billion. It's like you can never win.
No.
Like there's always somebody richer or poorer, prettier, uglier, nicer, meaner.
Yeah. Like on Amazon when you can at the, like, you scroll down to the bottom and you have your product and it says compare to,
Yeah.
and it lists out, I don't know, 10. And then you compare it to those, and there's a little thing at the bottom that says next.
Yeah.
There's always more products to compare it to.
Next.
And guess what? There's this price, this price, this price, this feature, this benefit, this feature, this benefit. Like, it's impossible to compare all of those things. Because what is it worth to you? What's it worth to me? It's two different things.
Right.
We look at it different. So, you know,
So when talking,
can't compare.
So when we talk about creating our own valleys, a lot of times we create those because we start to compare ourselves to other things or other deals.
Yeah.
And then we start to feel low again.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not as good as so and so. Oh, I did a Reebok commercial, but I didn't do a Nike.
Yeah.
You know, and then the rest of the world is going, dude, you just worked on Reebok.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's so true. And it's hard not to do that. I'm not saying I don't do that.
Yeah.
Because I do compare myself still to, but it's about recognizing that you're doing that.
Yeah.
And then stepping back and saying, okay, I can't compare myself to, I don't know, somebody that is, you know, at a different level than me.
So then how do you get out of a self-created valley, right? Because like, I think like they're a little bit different, like circumstance in life, like the pandemic has thrown a lot of people into a valley and they're having to change their jobs, their careers. They're having to look at things a little bit differently. And that's a little bit of a different thing a hurdle to overcome versus a self-fulfilling valley. Like that feels maybe like it's a little harder, right? Because you're the one who keeps digging the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So have you noticed that in your career that, and are you in a self-created valley right now? And what's the solution? How do you get out of it? How do you get people out of that? What's the way to do it? Is it to go back and mop the floor?
A little bit of that, because as we can create our own valleys, we can also create our own peaks.
Oh, okay.
Which also is kind of goes into this what you could call truth. Like your peak could be your truth.
Okay.
Now, not to get like really far into it, but like your truth is what is your truth to yourself. So you can create that truth. You can create the peak. You can create the valley. And so, if you feel like you're in this valley, then you have to recognize that you're there. Because if you don't recognize that you're there, then you can't go up. And like I said at the beginning, I'm a very positive person. I don't have anxiety. I rarely get stressed out, even though, you know, like sometimes I don't have money to pay the mortgage.
Right.
Like I just like my brain and my body just doesn't, like, I just don't get stressed out about that stuff. And I'm sure people out there listening are like, oh my God, I can't, you know.
Yeah.
But it just is what it is. So I think it's hard for me to give like this one answer of like, this is what you have to do to get out of a valley.
Yeah.
But I think staying positive is one of the most, can be the easiest, but it also can be the hardest, but it could also be the most rewarding. You can get the most reward out of staying positive because you get out of bed, the first thing you say is, oh my God, it's snowing outside. There's 9 inches.
Yeah.
Now your whole day is affected by that negative, energy that you just put out there.
For me, it's not the snow. It's having to do my expense reports.
Exactly.
And every time if I go to do it, I'm like, God, I don't want to do this. But this last time, I said to my wife, I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to be rejuvenated. I'm going to have my little minty shower spray, to breathe in the
eucalyptus.
Yeah, to breathe in the eucalyptus.
Okay.
And I'm going to step out a transformed man who's going to enjoy the expense reports, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on some music. I'm going to get me a cup of coffee, and I'm going to use it as a time to just check out some new records.
Yeah.
And just sort of like get in, catch up on discovering new music. And now I took what was frustrating and I made it something beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, there are very simple concepts in the book.
Yeah.
It's not like this, like I don't even know how to explain.
Yeah, it's not like you're like trying to understand and get your MBA degree or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just
It's very simple because I need simple.
Yeah.
Like that's why I love this book. One, because I love hiking and all of that.
yeah.
But like it's a simple book, simple truths, simple ideas, like staying positive, to get out of your valley or to get out of where you're at.
No, and I think that's sometimes simple is hard, right? It's hard to do the things that seem so easy.
Yeah.
I really am enjoying this conversation, and I feel like part of you sharing this book with me hits on one of the other ideas I want to talk about in the book is as they talk about, it seems like as they tell the story of peaks and valleys, every person along the way in this book tells the next person, if I tell you this, you have to tell someone else. Mm-hmm. So there's this sort of idea of, paying it forward.
Yeah.
How's that manifested in your sort of career and in your life? How do you, obviously, Josh invested in you,
100%.
As you went, and he was your Miyagi, and he took you to these really cool events in big cities, and he gave you a platform.
Yeah.
How's that working out? How are you building platforms and helping other people underneath you?
It's a great question, and I think that's one of the reasons why I connected with education so much, is because every time I teach, I am passing it on.
Yeah.
I'm sharing my knowledge. Like there's no reason for me to keep all of this knowledge. Say I wasn't an educator, but I'm working in the salon, and the person next to me, my fellow coworker, is struggling with something, whatever it is. And I have this knowledge and this secret, and I hold it because I don't want her or him to get better than me.
Yeah.
Like that gets you absolutely nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. So the paying it forward is done, I feel, every time I go out and teach.
Yeah.
And now that COVID happened and all that, I'm not teaching as much as I was.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm trying to do those little things just in the salon with, the people that I work with. If I find something new that I like, a new technique, a new color, or whatever it is, like I'm the first person to like, hey, did you see this? Or did you see this? Or did you try this?
Yeah.
We have a new hairstylist that came on, I don't know, like January, in the beginning of January. And I taught, I've known her for a while. I taught a class that she was at. And again, it's like those people that you just meet.
Yeah.
You know that you're meeting for a reason.
Yeah, we're in this together.
Yeah. And and so she we talked after that class. We stayed in contact, and now she's working at the salon
with you guys. Yeah.
Which is like, I mean, it's
you're the master.
Nah, I don't know. But I am the person that shared my knowledge.
Yeah.
And so by sharing that knowledge opens you up to creating those moments to connect with somebody else.
Yeah.
And so her name is Summer. And so Summer and I connected, and now, we get to work together all the time, and it's a blast. And it's just cool to see people be happy. It's cool to see people go from like this little, say valley or this little part in their journey to like that one little step above, and then like, oh, like those little moments are what I love.
I love that, man. That's such a great story. And again, this is a simple book, but a really great read. If you're at a point in your career right now and you're just feeling stuck, you're feeling like you don't know what to do, and you're looking at all these people on their mountaintops and you're just wanting to be them, I just encourage you, man, pick up this little read. It might ignite something inside of you, and hopefully this story is Jesse's story is doing some of that. I want to take a little bit of a turn and get a little practical and maybe have some fun, because we don't always have stylists on the show. But some people in their professional life go through peaks and valleys with their personal brand, their hair, their style, their clothing. So I guess what do you say to people, or what's your advice for people as they're trying to present themselves out in the world? So we probably have a lot of people listening to the show right now who maybe because of COVID are taking a pivot with their career. Maybe they're joining a new advertising shop. Maybe they're switching from an agency and going to a brand, or they were at a brand and they're going to an agency, and they're trying to reposition themselves, sort of their point of view, who they are, right? And so with that might come like a new look and feel.
Yeah.
So when you work with people, whether it's celebrities or high profile people who come in and they're wanting to get a fresh new look or whatever. I guess, how do you go about doing that? And so I guess for those listening today, what's your advice to them of, okay, like if you're trying to get a new look, you recommend X, Y, and Z to kind of get there, and then like maybe, how to choose the right stylist for them, and sort of like, I guess people that feel like they're in the valley of their like hairstyling and like their personal brand, help them get to a peak. So what do you say? So if I come to you and I say, look, dude, I'm trying to sort of reinvent myself, which I did kind of recently.
You did.
For for those who know me, or those who Google me on the internet, I let my hair grow out. It was crazy. It was well below my shoulders. I had super long hair and a really, really long, crazy beard. And most recently, I went into Jesse and I said, we're cutting it all off. And so we kind of went with this sort of David Lynch inspired shave on the sides, kind of, Kramer from Seinfeld, wild on the top. And then just most recently, if you follow me on social media, I just shaved off my beard. And everybody was like, what? I've never seen you without a beard. And so it was fun. And so I just kind of went into it. But not everybody does that. Not everybody has the confidence or feels comfortable just trying stuff. So help us out here. Help us get out of our styling valleys. What do you say to those people listening that are ready to get a new LinkedIn picture and tackle the day with a new vibe?
As a stylist, my approach is, obviously a consultation. You do a consultation with your brand people, with all this. But a couple of the most important questions that your stylist should ask you is a description of who you are. Like, who do you feel like you are?
Yeah.
Okay. And then just by asking that simple question, most people are a little hesitant at first because one, it may be the first time that they're sitting in your chair. And then the other thing is how do you want other people to see you? Because a lot of times they're two different things.
Yeah.
Some people inside, let's call them
wild and crazy.
We'll just say wild and crazy. I was trying to think of a celebrity.
Oh, okay.
We'll say wild and crazy.
But maybe on the outside they need to be buttoned up.
Correct. So then you take those two things. Now you have to be honest with yourself too.
Yeah.
Like if you want to, this is one question I ask. If you walk into a room, do you want to be seen or do you want to stay kind of in the background?
Blend in.
Do you want to blend in? Now, if you want to be seen, then you have to take into consideration that being seen takes work.
Yeah.
So now that means, okay, if you want your hair to complement that, then it's probably going to take some work.
Yeah, which we've identified that I am not ready to invest in the hard work of
every once in a while.
Yeah.
For your picture.
Yeah, but I'm
for a meeting.
I wake up and what you see is what you get.
Yeah. So who you are, like, how do you see yourself? How do you want to be seen?
Yeah.
How you want to be seen as you walk into a room,
Or when somebody clicks on your LinkedIn.
or somebody clicks on your LinkedIn. And then I take those things and then I expand that out to, if they want to be seen, or if they want to be behind the scenes, like that person that wants to be seen and kind of, I don't want to say flamboyant, but wants to be seen, but they don't want to put any work in. It's not gonna. Those don't match. It's like asking somebody to paint a Bob Ross painting without paint.
Right.
You can't do it. So,
well, metaphorically, maybe.
no, you can't do
I
it.
feel like we're painting a Bob Ross painting on this podcast right
We
now.
are. I mean, there's no happy accidents. No, that's not right. There are happy accidents.
Of course. Titanium white. A little titanium white.
And
just a little dash of titanium white.
Slap the paintbrush. So as as a stylist, those are the kind of questions I ask.
Yeah.
Now, if you go in and your stylist that you sit down is not asking you those questions and just putting something on you
Yeah.
for the sake of putting something on you, that's just not my approach.
Right.
So if they're doing that, then you have to ask yourself, okay, are they putting what they want to see on me? Now, the stylist does have some great experience,
Sure.
on all of that,
Insights. They have a hunch that this
Yeah.
might look good on you.
but it's still up to you,
Yeah.
to embrace that and still feel like you can take that. So for the people out there, I would say if they don't ask you that, then make sure you tell them that.
Yeah.
And that would be your first step to getting out of the style valley, is to ask yourself those questions and be ready to answer those questions and tell, especially your hairstylist, that. The other thing is most hairstylists are very visual.
Yeah.
So maybe go on Pinterest, maybe go on Instagram, maybe go on whatever, and pull some pictures that you like, pull pictures that you don't like,
Yeah.
and know why you like them and know why you don't like
Yeah.
them.
So just some good creative direction.
Yeah.
I always have, this about me, I always come in with a style icon.
Yes, you do.
And early on, my style icon was Jeff Bridges, i.e. the dude.
Yeah.
And I literally for Halloween was the dude, and I literally looked just like the dude.
You look exactly like it.
Crazy long hair, beard, white Russian, the whole nine.
Yeah.
And then this next time around, I came in and I was like, we're going David Lynch.
Yeah.
We're going this sort of, eccentric filmmaker sort of vibe.
Yeah.
And so I think that what that boils down to for me, and I think where this conversation sort of starts to come to a nice little, culmination is sometimes it's just about formulating and thinking about what is your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want to be? Where do you want to go?
Yeah.
If you're in a valley, then you can use that point of view to help you direct your energy to get to a peak. If you're at a peak and you're like, what now? And you're starting to play the game of comparison, you look back at your own personal point of view.
Yeah.
This is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is what I want people to know me for.
Yeah.
That can help guide you between the peaks and valleys and really start to shape up who you are, the things that you say, the way you present yourself, and then more tangibly, the way you look and the way you present yourself. And these things are important because it's how we communicate with the world. We make first impressions and we fall in love and we get hired and we get fired. And, this is all part of who we are. And I have found that, working with and and even when people, apply for jobs, I've recently had to hire several people. The people that present themselves with a strong point of view are the ones who win. They're the ones that people hire.
Yeah.
They're the ones that exceed. They're the ones that end up on the peaks.
Yeah.
And in less valleys. And I think ultimately this book, what I took away, and I think you could speak to it as well, is we're always going to have peaks and valleys.
Always. Everybody.
But if we can craft a strong point of view in who we want to be and what we want to stand for, we can limit those and we can be a little more content in those moments. And it's less, rock bottom and mountaintop. And it's a little more like a rolling hill that's just like a nice ride. You know what I mean? Like a nice, like cruising the hills, like when I'm out riding with the dad skate squad.
John Bob was
When I'm out riding with the dad skate squad and we got a bunch, 50, dads riding on skateboards.
Yeah.
The best rides are not the super big hills that go fast, and they're not the flat hills in the valleys. Those are one is super scary and dangerous.
Yeah.
The other one's kind of boring. The best rides are these nice little rolling hills where you go up, then you come down, and right when you get down to the bottom, you got just enough speed to get you over the next hill.
Yeah.
And you're just cruising.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where in my life where I'm the most happiest is when I'm cruising.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
I agree 100%. And I mean, the peaks and valleys approach is to stay in the peaks the longest, stay out of the valleys the longest, and have less peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Just like you're saying, you have this kind of like steady, little rolling hill of happiness.
Yeah.
And if I can share one quick story, recently I went hiking. We had this whole trip plan, and this is kind of a culmination of all of
And
this.
you're with Wags.
I'm
right?
with Wags.
Okay, so
it's his birthday.
Full circle.
The
master,
Yes.
who's now a great friend of yours. You
Yes.
guys decide you're going on this hiking expedition
Yes.
somewhere in Appalachia.
Yeah, there's 6 of us, West Virginia. So
Okay.
we planned this whole thing, and the whole thing, the culmination is this peak.
Okay.
And you're overlooking this huge valley.
Yep.
So day comes, the whole time driving to West Virginia, it's raining and cold.
Man. Yeah.
It had previously been beautiful. So that's Saturday. Now, Saturday, we meet this lady, I forget her name, avid hiker, has been on the exact rock and peak that we're going to.
The one that you dreamed about.
So the guru, she's been there. So we ask her, like what's the best way? And basically it was the exact opposite of what she told us.
Yeah.
So we planned this whole thing, and now we get to this guru, and she's like, do the exact opposite of what you think.
Don't go that way.
So-
it's like finding Nemo. It's like when you get to the rift, just swim through it. So here you are.
So now we're like, okay, do we listen to her,
Sure.
or do we be selfish and be static and stiff?
Yeah.
Or do we be fluid, like water, like Bruce Lee says, fluid and change up our plan? Okay, so now there's 6 of us. Not that 6 have to agree, but at least 4 of us have to agree.
Exactly.
So we agree. So we do it the exact opposite of how we're supposed to go. So Sunday we get up, it rains. We hiked 8, 9, 10 miles.
In the rain.
In the rain. Raining. Now, I hike mostly to drink coffee in my hammock in the morning. That's one of the main reasons why I hike, and some of the views. Now, this whole time, like, hiking sucks right now. Like, there's this whole, anyway. So it rains. We get to the shelter. Now, 3 of us have a hammock. 3 of us are going to sleep in this shelter. This shelter is first come, first serve. And it's raining, and I know it's going to suck sleeping in a hammock in the rain, okay? It's cold, and I wanted to sleep in the shelter, but I'm like, you know what? I'll let them sleep in the shelter.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know, maybe an hour later, we have a fire built, blah, blah. The two other people come to the shelter.
Oh, man.
Girl, guy. The guy, he's like a guru. He's hiked the whole Appalachian Trail. The girl does not stop talking.
Oh, no.
One of the most annoying voices.
She's in a valley.
She's in the valley.
She's a valley girl.
She put me in the valley.
She's a valley girl.
She put me in the valley.
Yeah.
And I was just so frustrated. So now.
So you were on a journey that was supposed to be amazing.
Yes.
You've dreamed about it. You've seen it on Instagram. And you're just pissed. You're wet. You're cold.
Yes.
You're on a route that you weren't planning on.
Uphill.
You've got people. Yeah, you're going uphill. You've got people that you don't want to be with that are new, not in your party.
Not in.
And
so
it's not happy.
Yeah. So fast forward, we wake up in the morning, and I would say I'm on a peak now. Sun is shining.
Okay.
We had not seen the sun. Like, we don't even know where we're at, really, because it was so rainy and foggy.
And dark.
We have no clue where we're really at. So we wake up, I make my coffee, I'm sitting in my hammock. I showed you the picture, and it's like these rays coming through the fog, through the trees, and it's like, this is unbelievable.
This is why I came.
I
got my coffee.
My hammock.
Yes.
And I'm drinking my coffee. Now we have to pack everything up and go to the actual rock, which is the culmination, the peak.
The actual peak.
Now we've seen this view on Instagram, on the internet, other people standing on this specific rock with this beautiful picture, which is what I wanted to take and post. So pack everything up. Now we're still going uphill, which sucks because it's hard.
You're wet.
But you have to embrace it. Correct. Yeah. We get there, and now we're above the clouds, and we see nothing but clouds. Now, on the internet, I've seen this beautiful picture from these rocks.
Amazing.
For the past 6 months. And that's all I'm thinking about is seeing this view.
Gorgeous.
And we get there, and guess what? Clouds.
Nothing.
That's the first thing I thought.
Yeah.
Now, let's take it back to the book. The guy gets to the top, and he says, I missed it. I missed the sunset.
Yeah, it's dark, and he's looking out into the horizon, and he sees nothing.
Yeah. And then, I had to take this moment. I had to step back and appreciate that I'm looking at these just like unbelievable like clouds. It was like I felt like I was on Mount Everest without it being
you're
in the death zone.
You're not in an airplane, yet you're above the clouds.
Correct.
That's pretty cool.
So now I start to just like take everything back. I'm like, okay, I'm appreciating the clouds. Again, I get my coffee. I make my coffee. I'm enjoying coffee, friends. More people are coming up from the other side, which is where we're supposed to come.
Community's happening.
We're talking, we're meeting people. I'm sharing coffee, not actual like drinks, but like my coffee regimen. And, so now I appreciate the view. Fast forward, getting home. So we get home, and my brother and I, because my brother went, and we're looking at pictures of other people on this rock. And we realized we were in the wrong spot. So we took all these pictures at the wrong rock. It was literally like 20 feet to the left. So now again, I go through all of this peak and valley throughout this whole journey to get to the peak, this whole this beautiful view and this beautiful rock to take this picture. I don't see the view. I think I'm on the rock. I take the picture. I go home.
You finally appreciate the clouds.
I finally appreciate the clouds.
So now you're like kind of okay.
Now I'm okay with it. I have my coffee.
But you get home.
But I get home.
And the game of comparison sets in.
Game of comparison sets in. I'm looking at other people's pictures of them on the rock, and we're not on the rock.
Oh, man.
So now I'm comparing my picture to all these other pictures, my view to all these other views. And I had to step back and say, it doesn't really matter. I was 20 feet away from this. It's from this rock that it doesn't matter if I post a picture of this person on a rock.
Yeah.
I was up there. I made it.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable journey. And so again, it's like, it's not that I am always on this peak. I mean, I have peaks and valleys all day, all week, all month, all year. But the thing is trying to reduce the amount of how high and lows those are, and stay on that rolling little wave of happiness.
Man, what a great conversation. This has been a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate the narrative, and I hope that everybody's enjoyed our conversation. Again, it's not easy. Perspective can really change everything, and I think that's what this book does. And it's been really a joy to hear sort of your journey as a stylist and how you've sort of connected to the ad world and the marketing world, and in general. This is just such a human story. So hope you guys have enjoyed it. Tell us where we can find you if somebody's looking to connect with you, to maybe see the kind of cool styles you're doing for people. Maybe if somebody's in the Midwest, they would want you to cut their hair. Where do people find you on the internet? How can they work with you? Maybe there's a brand who really wants a fresh new stylist to work with them, with a hair care product. How do they get in touch with you?
Well, I am on Instagram, Jesse Gray Style. That's JESSEGRAY Style. I currently work in Cincinnati, Ohio. Live in Northern Kentucky, so the salon is in Cincinnati. But the best way to see my work and who I am, how I present myself, is on Instagram, Jesse Gray Style. Now I'm dabbling in TikTok. I've gone over the edge, the line, dangerous. And I'm trying to figure it out. And just
trying to find your point of view.
I'm trying to find my point of view. I'm trying to find it's so anyway. And that would be the best way to see what I do and reach me.
Okay, so Instagram at Jesse Gray Style. They can just slide into your DMs, send you a message.
Yeah.
And when the COVID's over, you're often in New York and LA and all Atlanta, all sorts of cities. So if you guys follow him and you're in a city near him, hit him up. Jesse's a guy who's happy to grab some coffee, grab a beverage, and chat it up. So any other cool projects you got going on that are?
Well, can we talk about maybe what we're looking into?
I think we could, loosely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, first off, so as Brandon said, Brandon is my cousin. We've grown up since birth together. We're only a year and a half or something like that apart. And we've worked on several projects together.
Yeah. But we want to make a show.
But I think the first thing I want to say is how appreciative and grateful I am of, your mentorship, your friendship. You've taken me, I would say, under your wing a little bit on the creative aspect of.
You're so much younger than me.
You're the Miyagi to my Karate Kid, and so we're always bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yeah.
And what we have found is people love transformations.
The internet loves before and afters. They love it. I love it. I love watching your Instagram when you take a girl who comes in with hair, down to her waist, and then she leaves with a pixie cut that's or shaved.
Yeah.
It's awesome because it's just so much fun and it's so interesting, and you kind of want to know why did she chop it off and then that sort of thing. And so, we were talking about, what's some content that the internet would like? And I said, man, let's just chop it. Let's just tell the story and bring in guys and girls that have extreme transformations. We go from, long to short. We go from blonde hair to black hair, color transformations or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we kind of got excited about it.
Yeah. So we're working on something.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're out there listening, let's say you're listening because you're into advertising and marketing, and you happen to work for, in the beauty space, and you like this idea, feel free to reach out to us. You can slide into my DM as well over here at a Quick Read podcast, and maybe this is a show that will look really good on your YouTube channel. So
Collaborations.
we are open to collaborations, but either way, we're going to do this. So
Yeah, we are. So that would be one thing I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Because the last year I have not traveled and taught, which I'm normally teaching 36 to 40 something, classes a year. So I need something to work on, and I think this is what's going to be.
Yeah. Well, it's been a lot of fun, and
I'm pumped.
Enjoyed you coming on the show and chatting. So everybody, thanks so much for listening. As always, it's super helpful for me if you could give us a review and a rating on iTunes. Currently, I believe iTunes is the only platform that allows you to do that. If you're on your phone, download the iTunes podcast app, scroll to the bottom, reviews and ratings. There's 5 stars. I love a good 5-star rating, but I like an honest rating. So if you think we're a 4 or a 3, 2 or 1, be honest. That's okay too. And then leave a review as well. That helps us get seen and noticed, and we can spread this podcast throughout. And if you have a recommendation for who you'd like to hear on the show, and that'd be great too. We're trying to bring all sorts of different people. So far, we've featured producer from LA, Jamie Paleo, in episode 3. We have a copywriter, episode 2, with Nathan Dye, and our pilot episode was with creative director Pat Morgan. And here we are with stylist, celebrity stylist, educator, creative, Jesse Gray. I love you, man. You're
love
the
you
best.
too, brother.
And yeah, thanks everybody for listening. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Every other Tuesday, we drop an episode. So I'll see you guys in 2. Peace.
Peace.
Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, head over to iTunes or Spotify and give us a great rating and review. A Quick Read is a Leap Group podcast.